The storage bay smelled of rust and forgotten years. I had returned to the derelict outpost only because I needed parts for my ship's failing reactor. The place had been abandoned since the Outer Rim Wars, left to rot in the silence of space. Among the broken crates and shattered helmets, I found it, an old Federation officer's uniform. My uniform. The navy blue fabric was scorched at the shoulders, torn at the sleeves, but the chest still bore the insignia, a silver spiral coiled around a starburst. I hadn't worn it in years, not since I deserted the fleet after the war ended in blood and betrayal. To me, the symbol was nothing but a reminder of friends buried in unmarked graves. I stuffed it into my pack anyway. Maybe I could use it as scrap cloth or barter it somewhere. I had no idea that the symbol, something I thought meaningless, would change my life forever. The encounter. 2 days later, I limped my ship down onto a jungle moon called Kaler 3, a world I only meant to pass through for supplies. Its skies were green with thick mist, its surface cloaked with forests so dense they swallowed sunlight whole. As I walked through the humid undergrowth, my pack slung over my shoulder, I didn't expect company. But the company found me. They emerged from the vines, tall figures with pale skin patterned in glowing blue lines, like veins of light. Their eyes were large, reflective, and their movements carried both grace and suspicion. At their front was a girl, younger than the others, though still alien. Her skin the faint hue of pearl, her hair flowing silver-white as if spun from moonlight. She carried no weapon, unlike her companions, yet there was something commanding about the way she walked. They encircled me before I could reach for my blaster. One of the warriors barked something in a language I couldn't understand, but the girl raised her hand, silencing him. Her gaze fell not on me but on my pack. "Show me," she said in halting standard, her accent strange but clear. Confused, I opened the pack. Her eyes widened when she saw the torn fabric. Slowly, carefully, I pulled out the uniform and let it unfold. The silver spiral caught the light. The girl froze. Her lips trembled, her chest rising with sharp breaths. Then, before I could comprehend it, she dropped to her knees in the mud. "This symbol," she whispered, her eyes locked on the insignia. "You are the one." The others gasped, murmuring words in their tongue, some kneeling as well. Only a few looked doubtful, their hands still gripping weapons. I stood there, bewildered, holding the ragged remains of a uniform I'd once despised. "I don't know what you think that means," I said cautiously, "but I'm no one. Just a drifter." The girl looked up, tears glistening in her strange, luminous eyes. "No. You carry the spiral of dawn. It is written, you would come when our world stands on the edge of destruction. The prophecy." They led me back to their settlement, a sprawling city of stone towers half swallowed by roots and vines. Bridges of woven crystal spanned chasms, glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. Everywhere I went, eyes followed me. The alien people whispered and pointed at the old uniform I now carried draped over my arm, as if it were holy. "In the great hall of their elders," the girl explained. Her name was Serenia, daughter of Kaler's high oracle. She spoke of a prophecy carved in their oldest archives. When the sky burns and the shadows rise, the spiral will return, carried by one who has walked the void. He shall be the Dawnbringer, the one to lead Kaler from darkness. The insignia on my chest, once just a military crest, was identical to the spiral of dawn from their prophecy. I tried to argue. That symbol was nothing but a mark of rank in a war that's long over. I'm no savior. But Serenia's conviction was unshakable. You were chosen long before you understood. The spiral found you. And now the shadows rise. She revealed what she meant. On Kaler's far horizon, something stirred, an encroaching force they called the Eclipsed. Not quite flesh, not quite machine. They were creatures born of war and void, feeding on energy and thought alike. Already villages had been consumed, their inhabitants vanishing without a trace. Kaler's warriors had fought, but their weapons were useless. Only the prophecy remained as hope. And now they believed I was their answer. Conflict within. That night, I sat in the chamber they had given me, staring at the uniform. The spiral of dawn shimmered faintly in the firelight. Me, a deserter. Me, a man who abandoned his brothers when the war turned sour. How could I be anyone's savior? But Serenia visited me, silent until she finally spoke. You don't see yourself as we do. You see only your failures. I looked at her, frustrated. I'm no hero. Ran. When the fleet started burning colonies for resources, I walked away. I couldn't stomach fighting anymore. She stepped closer, her glowing patterns illuminating the room. A man who refuses unjust war is not a coward. He is the one who remembers the true purpose of the fight, to protect life, not destroy it. Her words shook me. She knelt again, touching the insignia. The spiral doesn't just mean power, means rebirth. Even from ruin, light can rise. The attack. At dawn, the sky burned. A shriek split the heavens as black ships descended, their hulls shifting like liquid metal. The Eclipsed had come. Panic swept through the city. Warriors rushed to the walls, firing arrows of light that disintegrated before touching the enemy. The ships unleashed storms of shadow, beams that turned towers into crumbling dust. I ran with Serenia toward the great plaza, the uniform clutched in my hands. The people looked to me with desperate eyes, waiting for something, anything. Had no plan, no power, only the past I carried. But as the first of the Eclipsed broke through the defenses, monstrous figures with eyeless faces and claws like obsidian, I did the only thing I could. I put on the uniform. It felt heavy, like slipping into old skin. The fabric tightened as if remembering me. The spiral insignia pulsed, brighter than it ever had. And then something awoke. A surge of energy rippled through me, not my own but drawn from the spiral itself. A field of shimmering light expanded outward, pushing back the shadows that lunged at us. People gasped. Serenia's face lit with awe. The Dawnbringer, she whispered. The battle. The Eclipsed howled, retreating slightly, but then surged forward in greater numbers. I raised my hand, and the spiral's light formed into a blade of radiant energy. Instinct guided me as I swung, cutting through their dark forms, dispersing them like smoke. The warriors rallied behind me, emboldened. Arrows and spears charged with the spiral's glow struck true, piercing creatures once thought invincible. Serenia herself fought beside me, chanting in her native tongue, her voice weaving with the spiral's energy, amplifying its power. Together we drove the enemy back toward their ships. But the battle was not without cost. Many fell, their bodies crumbling under the Eclipsed's draining touch. Each life lost was a knife to my chest, reminding me of wars past. Still, we fought until the last ship retreated into the burning sky, leaving only silence and ashes behind. Resolution. When the smoke cleared, the city stood scarred but alive. Survivors cheered, their voices echoing through the ruined towers.